You got one person in here with me, right?
You hear us okay, Coach?
I can. I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't really see anything right there.
Yeah.
You're not on there, Brad. I don't see all the people. Will I?
There we go. Is that better?
Okay, now I got you. Okay. I feel better now. I want to be able to look at somebody, right?
We're ready to start whenever you are, Coach.
Okay. Just getting off the field. Really beautiful day out there. I thought it was going to be a little chilly. I think I overdressed. Deep into Cincinnati, and with that, I'll just open it up.
Let's go first to Herbie Teope. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Coach. Good afternoon.
Hi,
Speaking of deep into Cincinnati, I say Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. What's your reaction, and how do you defend against these guys?
Yeah, I think this is the best threesome trio that we have gone through against this year. I think our guys respect that, know that, just turn on any play, any game, and they just take turns being the leading receiver for a particular game. Heck of a challenge for our guys. I mean, that's what we're working at right now, and there's been a lot of conversation about those three wideouts.
Let's go next to Sam McDowell. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Sam.
Chris Jones talked to us yesterday and just mentioned that it's still taking him a while to get back in football shape since coming off that COVID list. Obviously, you've got other guys this week that are coming off the COVID list. What's just the process of figuring out how close to 100% specifically conditioning-wise these guys are this week?
Yeah, that's a really good point and something we got to be concerned about. I think, to be honest with you, Sam, I really trust the guys, and all we ask them is, look, don't go out there and keep yourself on the field for a play when you don't think you can do it 100%. Let's get somebody else in there. Other than that, we roll a lot of guys through. So I'm hoping the fact that we, run a lot of people out on the field that helps guys that are in that situation right now.
Let's go next to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
I said you were asked about the skill position players. I just was wondering, how do you feel about quarterback Joe Burrow and what he's been able to do so far in his young career, and especially watching that tape from last week?
Yeah, really, really impressive. I mean, look at this. May sound crazy, but I see a young Tom Brady. I mean, this guy does everything. He does not look like a second-year quarterback that missed a lot of his first year. Totally impressed with him. Began the meeting on Tuesday. We were just finishing up on the last game, but began the meeting talking about Joe because I think he's that good. All the weapons we've talked about and all that, but you got to have a quarterback that can get it done, and he really does. We've got to try to find out some ways to make him uncomfortable. Easier said than done.
Got three more. We'll go right down the line, starting with Vahe. Go ahead, Vahe.
Hey, Steve. I hopefully you're still glad to see faces now that I'm talking. Brad, I'll have a follow-up after this question. Steve, I know you're in the middle of the season and you won't really think about this stuff till the end of the season and where this all goes. But how do you just explain in layman's terms a couple of factors in how you go from being 3-4 to winning 8 in a row? Are there specifics you can point us to?
The first one. Yeah, the first one that jumps in my mind is tremendous leadership at the top. And that begins with Andy. I think we talked about this before, that there's no panic in Andy, and it filters right on through. And the next thing is tremendous trust. Andy trusting us, we trust him. The players trust each other. We trust the play. To me, the trust factor when you're going through that is huge. Believing in what you do. I think our guys did that. I mean, I know I had talks with the defensive unit about it when we were struggling, both as a team, as a defensive unit, and as a defensive unit. And I just felt like the guys bought into that, embraced it, and just kept on grinding away. I've said this before. I believe assistant coaches, the staff that I have, made a huge difference in what we were able to do, in a turnaround. And I'm hoping we're still turning because I want to keep going forward and getting better.
And the follow-up, Steve, is really, are we going to learn later that there was some double secret meeting that was the moment where everything changed? Really, the real serious question is that how much did you deal with doubt during that?
Well, look at 7 games in, especially with a 17-game season now, and you got a few wins under your belt. There's never time to panic. I mean, you'd be panicking later in December, but I just think you're in this league long enough, that you can get it turned if you stick together and you keep believing in what you're doing. Don't change, don't panic. That's why I keep going back to that. I believe every man to a man did that. And more than anything, I think that was the foundation in what we were able to do.
Go next to Matt Derrick. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Steve, between the COVID situation and the game situation last week, you got some young guys, some action. I know DiCaprio was your leading tackler, but Dorian O'Daniel and Josh Jackson got some time too. What did you kind of learn and see from those three guys?
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up, Matt, because it was great. Listen, those guys work their butts off every day. I mean, they're doing scout team, they're working special teams, they're doing scout team, special teams. They're in every meeting, they're in early meetings. Coach House has them in there, Dorian, some other guys you just mentioned. And it's nice to see it pay off and that they can get out on the field and perform. And I agree with you. I thought those guys did, the three that you mentioned, did some good things for us. I mean, I would like to be able to do that in the next two games. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it certainly would be good for us if we could, and really proud of what those guys did.
We'll go last to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Steve. Chris Jones played a little bit less against the Steelers than he otherwise would have. Was that because he was coming off COVID? Was that maybe because of the lopsided nature of the game? Was there something else going on there? And Brad, I'll have a second question as well.
Yeah, Adam, more I think because of the lopsided part of the game, to be honest with you, because he was in as I can recall, he was in a normal rotation, through the first 3 quarters of the game. And again, we roll people through. You guys know that. I mean, we have 8 D linemen that are in there that are going to be in there in a normal rotation. And I don't think it was anything due to the COVID. I don't ever remember Madam coming to me and saying, I'm feeling winded or tired, unless you talked to Brendan about that, but I don't remember that.
Okay. And as Sam mentioned, he talked about COVID kind of throwing him off stride. He felt like he was in a pretty good rhythm, and then he kind of had to start from basically from scratch again. Do you could you see that from him? And can you tell in practice this week maybe he's bouncing back a little bit?
He feels like he's bouncing back and moving around pretty good. I can't recall a week ago. I know that I don't think he had a lot of practice reps because it wasn't, my memory serves me, he really didn't get cleared until later. I want to say it was Friday, and then we don't do much on Saturday. So that might have had something to do with what you're talking about, Adam, because he really didn't have a lot of reps under his belt during the week to get ready for the game. But listen, if that's what he's saying, that it affected him, I trust that. Hopefully we're past that now.
Coach, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we've got Coach Bieniemy coming up next. Coach, can you hear us okay?
Loud and clear.
We're ready whenever you are.
All right. Good afternoon. Hopefully everyone had a very happy Christmas celebration together, and hopefully everyone is looking forward to a safe and sound New Year's. Feels good coming off a big victory from last week. I thought our guys did a tremendous job. And with that said, I'm all ears.
Go first to Herbie T.O.P. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Coach. Good afternoon. How you doing, man?
How you doing, Herbie?
I'm doing well, thanks. I have 2 questions here for you. First one, Clyde Edwards-Helaire obviously missing 2 straight days of practice. What's your comfort level if you have to go into this game without him? And I'll have the second one after this.
Okay, our comfort level is the next man is always available and ready. So obviously our training room people are going to do whatever they can to make sure that he's ready to go if given that opportunity. But when it's all said and done with, we know the motto here. Next man is up. And these guys have done a tremendous job all year long of just stepping up when presented with the opportunity to do so.
When you pop on the tape, what's the first reaction when you look at Trey Hendrickson, the Bengals defensive end?
High motor, high energy. He's a beast. Kid plays relentless. You can't help but be a fan and have a great deal of respect for who he is and what he does. I mean, hell, he got after us pretty good last year. And so we just need to make sure that we can neutralize some of that pass rush and make sure that we're doing things, putting our guys in position so they can be good and great at times. But he's a tremendous football player. On top of that, they got another guy on the other side of him. They got a few guys inside that are pretty damn good too.
We'll go next to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Hey, Coach. Patrick mentioned that last week Tyreek Hill was a little bit tired, said the word exhausted, and obviously conditioning is coming into this COVID thing. When it comes to Hill and Travis Kelce and you watching them on the field this week, just how similar are they to what you normally see from these two guys?
You know what? I think they're much better than what they were both a week ago. Obviously, Tyreek came back and played in the game. Trav didn't have that opportunity to do so. But I think in hearing Tyreek said he was tired, it was kind of odd hearing that. Nobody expected to hear that from him. But, having this week to really get out there, get their conditioning back, those guys are professionals. They know exactly what to do and what is needed for them to be at their best. So I think they'll be just fine.
Let's go next to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Eric, Happy New Year. I know you always want to. Thank you. I know you always want to have Kelce and Hill in the lineup and at 100%, but having to play a game like you had to play against Pittsburgh without one of them and the other one kind of limited, you feel like that'll be a good thing for you guys down the road offensively? Maybe with some other guys having to step up into bigger roles?
Well, here's the thing. You never want to go into any game without, all your great players. But this is a part of the game. And this is the day and age in which we're living in. So it's our job as a coaching staff to make sure that our guys are ready. And I've talked about this in the past. We coach our backup players to be starters. And I thought those guys that stepped into those roles did a tremendous job. Let's also give some credit where credit is due. Let's give some credit to the coaches who stepped up as well. Our whole entire staff stepped up and did the extra that needed to be done to get those guys prepared and ready to play. But yes, if that was to happen, you knock on wood, you never want to go into a game fully loaded. But if we do happen to have to go into a game in that particular situation, we're just going to let our guys play. Let them know that, hey, we have full trust in their capabilities of getting the job done.
We'll go last three, starting with Matt McMullen. Go ahead, Matt.
Coach, you talk about next man up. It seems like Byron really embraced that last week, particularly after the drop early in the game, moved on from that and had a great game. What can you say about his performance last week?
You know what? I thought Pringle did a heck of a job. I'm not shocked nor surprised. And the thing about Pringle, he's one of our hardest working individuals. Kid comes to work every day with his heart at. And the thing that you appreciate about Pringle is that he does not take anything for granted. You don't have to remind Pringle that that he had a drop. He's going to remind himself, and he's going to find a way to make up for that particular play. That's what you love about him, because nothing is ever too high and nothing ever gets him down too low. He just puts consistent behavior on tape, and that's what we appreciate about him more than anything.
Well, Sam and then Nate. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Eric.
How you doing, Sam?
Good, thanks. How much do you feel like the relative struggles that you guys had as an offense during the middle part of the year, especially something that Patrick really hadn't experienced before, prepares you for the postseason, considering a lot of what you saw and struggled against in the regular season, you'll probably see in the postseason?
Sometimes without no bad luck, some of us wouldn't have any good luck at all. And sometimes you got to have those struggles, because the thing that you need to do is to find out who's all on board. Okay. On top of that, I thought it brought us together more so as a staff and also even together as a team, because these guys understood exactly what was needed to be done. We also learned the valuable lesson not to take this for granted. We're just not good enough to show up. Okay. And those are the things that you have to go through in order to get to this point. Now, there's still some life lessons that we're going through, but when it's all said and done with, like I told you guys before, if we handle that the right way, we'll reap the rewards of it, down the line. And what it has done is just helped us to grow together, completely together as a team.
And we'll go last to Nate. Go ahead, Nate.
Hey, B, Happy New Year, man.
Happy New Year's to you as well.
I know it's around this time of the year where we get to ask you, and the NFL has changed its format as to how soon teams can ask candidates for their openings at the coaching position. I guess, one, has any team reached out to you or asked the Chiefs for permission to talk to you? And I just wonder if that moment hasn't occurred yet, and if it does occur before the postseason begins, how that might help you or how it may change your viewpoint of maybe pursuing a head coaching job versus previous years where obviously you were doing it and then still trying to game plan for who you were going to face in the postseason.
Well, here's the thing that's a little different. Obviously, right now we're trying to fight for home field advantage. So The head coach and stuff will take care of itself when that time is right. Right now, my job is to make sure that we're ready and that we're taking care of the little things that we need to take care of. And Nate, I know that question is going to continue to come up. If and when that does happen, we'll address that then. But right now, my mind, my body, and my soul is focused on making sure that we're doing everything under the sun to make sure that we can take care of business this week and also finish the season the right way the following week.
Coach EB, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys. And Happy New Year's to everyone.
You too, Coach. All right. We got Coach Daly coming up next. Yeah. Coach, can you hear us okay?
I can.
All right, perfect. We will get started.
Coming
And
from
we'll
the
start-
screen there?
Yep, yeah, if you just want to look at the screen here. We'll
Nice,
start.
all right.
We'll start first with Herbie Toub. Go ahead.
Hey, Coach, good afternoon. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Herbie. How are you?
Hey, I'm well, thanks. Joe Mixon for the Bengals, what are some of the challenges you see for your defensive line to try to keep this guy from getting outside and trying to contain him, period, out of the backfield?
Yeah, this guy is a really impressive runner. He's an impressive back, not just runner. He's more than capable in terms of pass receiving as well. But specific to his running ability, he's got very good strength. He's got very good balance, vision, runs with great pad level, finishes runs on contact. I think one of the best things that he does is he presses the heels of the offensive lineman extremely well, lets those blocks develop, has a very nice feel for the cutback runs. So we're going to have to do a good job of winning the line of scrimmage, of playing with hands, of attacking blockers, pressing those blocks, not jumping around them and creating space, and violently getting off of them. If we allow him to run us sideways with their stretch running schemes, that's where he finds the horizontal creases in the defense. And so we got to do a good job of minimizing that, of pressing the blocks, getting downhill with the second level. They do a really good job with their scheme as well in terms of forcing the corners to have to make tackles on the edges. And he's a tough tackle. He really is. He's very good in terms of yards after contact, in terms of spin, stiff arm, and then even just lowering his shoulder and running through contact.
Next to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Coach Hitch and Tyron have just commented recently on just how good the front four has been, really coming on, from the middle of the season on. Chris Jones yesterday said that there's still room to grow. What do you attribute maybe the advanced relentlessness that we saw middle of the season on? And do you feel, okay, we can still get even better than we are playing right now?
Yeah, I do feel like we can play better than we are right now. I would agree that there has been an improvement there as well. And I think that's a natural process. I hope that's what we do, each week that we go out there. And I think the players have done a fantastic job. They've practiced extremely well through this stretch, even on days where Coach Reed's given them, a little bit lighter day in terms of no helmets or pads. They've been very conscious of playing with great fundamentals with their hands, their eyes. So I attribute their work in that regard to our improvement. I also feel really good about the health and the depth of that group. We've been able to have 8 guys contributing in a significant way. We're getting quality production out of everybody in that group. You've got a lot of confidence with whoever you put out there on the field, and it's been able to keep us fresh and allow us to play well. And hopefully that continues. I do think, we have not reached our peak, and I hope that, we're staring at it and working towards it.
Got 2 more. We'll go Adam and then Nate. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Brendan, wanted to ask you about Chris Jones. He was telling us yesterday that having COVID really kind of threw him back a little bit, kind of threw him off stride. You talked to him about that at all? Have you seen that with him? Do you see him bouncing back this week in practice?
Yeah, I do. And, it's interesting. I don't have a ton of experience with the guys in COVID. Just watching and observing, it does seem like each guy's affected a little bit differently.
for whatever reason. And I think, there's no broad brush to paint there. You just kind of got to work through it. I did see last week in practice as we got him back integrated into it, I could see, okay, there may be some stamina, some wind issues here. He worked through that. I give him a lot of credit. And I would say that looks like it's improved this week. You would have to talk to him. He can tell you more specifically about how he feels. I'm going kind of off of the body language, if you will, in watching him. But I would say, looks a little bit better than particularly the first day we got him back off of the COVID situation last week.
Last, Nate Taylor. Go ahead, Nate.
Brendan, everybody knows that when you guys started to move Chris inside a little bit more, that's when the winning streak and your guys playing a little bit better. But I wanted to add an element to how you've seen Chris Jones and Jaron Reed work together more as the season's gone on, and maybe what the difference is early in the year when you add a new guy into the mix versus him being a part of the function of the defense now, and you guys seeing them work together in tandem much better.
Yeah, I do think there's an element anytime you're moving bodies around that there's some continuity and familiarity that's got to be acquired, right? And the only way you can do that is by being out there and working together. I think those guys have done a great job. I agree that has improved. I think even the multiple combinations we've had, even when it's Chris and Derek Nottie or Chris and Turk at times, there's just, as the season has gone on, I feel like the cumulative reps and ability to function together has improved there. And that's been part of the reason that we've played better, no question. Those guys, I give them a lot of credit. They've worked hard to get comfortable with each other and get into familiar positions with the other guys as they're in the game. And, it takes time to develop some of that.
Coach, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Take care, everyone. Happy New Year.
You too. All right, guys. We'll have Coach Madison coming up next. All right, Coach Madison, you ready for us?
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. All right, we'll get started first with Herbie Teope. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Coach. Good afternoon. How you doing, man?
Good, and yourself?
Hey, I'm well, thanks. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, obviously a handful for your cornerbacks. Now, how important is it going to be for your guys to stay disciplined, especially on the back end of coverage against this prolific trio?
Yeah, you just hit it on the head. Being disciplined in their coverage with their eyes and their responsibilities. Over the last couple of weeks, the guys have done a really good job. And we've been in and out with different players moving around. Now we've pretty much solidified our guys in their positions. But, when you look at this group of trio, they're pretty darn good, and they have a very good quarterback to deliver the ball. So everybody's going to have to be on the same page. And I think that these last couple of days, they have really been focusing on that, and they're really looking forward to this challenge.
Let's go next to Matt Derrick. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Coach. Really, the last couple of games, even with the COVID situation and certainly Sunday with game situation, you got a chance to look at a lot of your young guys, especially like DiCaprio Boodle, Josh Jackson, some of the others, Zane Anderson, I know too.
Yeah.
What have you really seen from that group of young guys last couple of weeks that, really have gotten their first chances out?
Yeah, one thing that you've been saying, Coach Reed, been preaching it, and since I've been playing 100 years ago, it's about the next man up. But paying attention in the meetings and paying attention to the details. Coach Spags throw a lot of different things on a consistent basis at these guys. We get a lot of different walkthrough, a lot of different reps in that category. But, just to be able to put those guys into the game and get them live game action, it was really good for them, but good for us as well to evaluate these guys. So, towards the end of the game, to be able to get, like you said, Josh, Boodle, Zane into those games, into those situations, to give us an opportunity to really, hone in the little small details through walkthroughs and talk-throughs. You can't really get the full live game experience, but they really had opportunity to do that, and it gave them, an opportunity to really see where they fare in this situation. But it was fun to sit there and watch those guys, and Boodle had probably about 15 tackles and like 12 in a couple of plays. So good for them.
We'll take three more, going right down the line, starting with Pete Sweeney. Good, Pete.
Coach, my question is about Legarius. You guys seem really comfortable moving him inside, outside. He looks to be one of the team's better tacklers. Just in your experience coaching him, what makes him such an asset to your unit and the defense as a whole?
Mindset, right? Last year coming right in and being very physical at the line of scrimmage when, we moved him out at corner. Then, with Breland being out last year and then coming back, we was like, we got to get this kid on the field, and putting him at nickel, it just fit perfectly for him. He's violent, he's strong, he's physical. He likes getting his hands on those wide receivers, which, most people put their number 2, 3 wide receiver in there so you don't get your hands on it, but he finds a way to get it done, and he messes up the integrity of the route. So, just being able to watch him flying around is, I'm just happy that he's back and he's out there. He's doing the things that he likes to do, and it's fun for him. So, he wants to be good. Not only good, he wants to be great, and he talks about it every day, and he comes out here and works at it. So kudos to him, for things that he's been able to do and accomplish and be able to feel the game as it goes on. He's been doing a really good job for us.
Go next to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Sam. Was wondering, what were the things that a defensive back needs to be good at to be a good blitzer? Are there things that some qualities there that all good defensive backs or good blitzers have to have?
Yeah. And that's mindset. And you got to be tough. You're going in there, you're giving up almost 125 plus pounds to these offensive linemen. And then, you have running backs that scanning, and you never know when they're going to peel back, and just being able to absorb and beat those blocks and the quickness part. He's violent. He's relentless. And then off of those blitzes, you have to be cautious of the run and the pass. So he's been able to transition into both of those, and he's doing a really good job of studying those things and the tendencies that the opposing offenses has, and going out there and then executing the things that Coach Spags really calls and give us an opportunity to win. So, just because of the violent nature that he plays with throughout the course of the game, Coach Spags can call a lot of different exotic things, and he has an opportunity to give some false keys, some false blitzes here and there, and he's starting to learn when and where he can do that. But yet and still, when you're talking about blitzing, you need somebody with the mindset, and he has the size and the speeds to get it done, and that's the thing that really helps us and help him as well. And he wants to do it, he loves to do it, and putting him in those situations has been really good for us as a defense.
Go last to Nate Taylor. Go ahead, Nate.
Hey, Sam, I have another question about Legarius.
Yep.
When you watch a guy on tape in college and you get to start to know him through the draft process, I wonder for you as an assistant, how fun it is to continue to coach that player when you know what you've seen translates to not only your scheme, but what he can do in the NFL. Just what's the enjoyment been like for you to continue to coach him in so many different ways based on what he showed in college?
Well, the one thing you want to do, you want to get a lot of his background. I had opportunity, to talk to his college coach, have an opportunity to understand him when he was down in Miami, his former coach. But, going back and looking at film, as a sophomore, as a junior, then a senior, he was a senior, he playing safety. Then you got to go back and you got to evaluate him, as a sophomore, as a freshman, and then just looking at those little things. And then you see little nuances that continue to progress and get better. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, he plays safety. That means he's tough enough to be able to do some of the things that you really need. But going from one position to the next and still not missing a beat and just fine-tuning some little small details. And when you give him something, he sits there, he processes it, and then he goes and apply it. That's the fun part of being able to watch these guys over the last couple of years. Not only Legarius, Ward as well, giving these guys the little small details so they can go out there and be successful on the football field. And that's one of the things that's been really rewarding for me, to be able to watch these guys going out there, giving them the little small tools, and then letting them go and use their tool belt when they need to in different situations of a game.
Coach Madison, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Happy holidays to you guys.
You too. All right, guys, we got Coach Heck coming up next. All right, Coach, you ready for us?
Yeah, all set.
All right, we'll start first with Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Hey, Coach Jack. I was wondering if you could kind of speak to what Andrew Wiley has meant to the team. I know natural guard, but he's really been selfless this year and going out to right tackle at the drop of a hat when you guys have needed him. Just what has he meant to the team?
Yeah, absolutely. Andrew has, since he's gotten here and then proven that this is a tough guy, a good, versatile athlete. We need to find a role for him. And then, but even before this year, he stepped in and started a bunch of games for us at left guard, at right guard, tackle, so on. And then this year, same thing. I mean, he's been ready to go at any one of those positions. We've needed him at tackle, and then he stepped in. And then last week, I mean, he had a great challenge, and I thought he rose to that occasion. And the other thing that Andrew brings really is an energy, a toughness. I mean, he's a tough kid that loves football. He's absolutely, essential to what we're doing here. Those kind of unheralded guys that do the dirty work like that. That's what it's all about.
Next to Herbie Tiopi. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Coach. Happy New Year. Hope all is well.
You too.
Hey, over the past month or so, you guys have faced your share of some of the league's elite pass rushers. What kind of separate challenge does a guy like Trey Hendrickson present to your offensive line this week?
Yeah, it's going to be another great challenge. I mean, the guy's been super productive. He's a very talented, good pass rusher. And it seems like, a lot of these teams have got guys like that, but they all have like a little different style to him. And so he's got his own deal. One of the things that makes him great is what a hard charger he is, but he's got a good complement of rushes, really bends the edge well. And then is very disciplined with his pass rushes. You're not going to see him just running by a quarterback. He's going to hit the brakes and try to leak back inside or bend that edge. So that's going to be another great challenge for our tackles. And they've been rising to a lot of these challenges. And so getting into the film and then coming up with a plan for how do I work against this guy? What can I anticipate from him? Is what helps you on Sunday.
Three more going right down the line, starting with Sam. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Coach. Wanted to ask also about Andrew Wiley. Obviously, he admitted to us in the training camp the Super Bowl didn't go the way he wanted it to go. You're coaching all these guys' physical traits. How much of the mental aspect of that did you guys have to coach in the offseason and training camp? Or was it something was unspoken? I mean, I know every player is different. How'd you handle that with him specifically?
Yeah. We were all disappointed in that game. It didn't go the way any of us wanted. And, you don't, belabor that. You don't dwell on it. We take a look at it once. We correct the mistakes and look at where we can be better. And you don't overreact to anything, good or bad. And, to all the guys' credit that were part of that and came back, we just get to work one day at a time, one meeting, one practice period at a time. And that's the way we approach things, across the board here. That's the kind of environment that Coach Reed sets up for us.
Last two, Nate and then Matt. Go ahead, Nate.
Hello, Andy. It was clear when you guys made the trade for Orlando that he wanted to prove that he could play left tackle at a high level. He's been named a Pro Bowler. I just wonder what Orlando sort of showed you throughout the course of the season in your guys' offense that has impressed you the most in terms of him getting that high of an accolade.
Yeah. I think what impresses me most about Orlando is his willingness. So here's a guy who's experienced, early success in his career. He'd been to a Pro Bowl prior to getting here, but still recognizes, hey, I've got room to grow. I've got things I've got to get better at that I want to be better at. I want to be a great player. And you take the accolades away and you just boil it down to how can I be the best today? How can I be a little bit better for tomorrow? And that's how Orlando has approached it. He has come to work every day with the focus to get better. And we've seen improvement. Little things that we're asked, and it's not an easy thing to do, to switch teams, switch offenses, terminology, also techniques. I might emphasize something that wasn't emphasized by his previous coach and vice versa. And so to learn all that and take it in and have a great attitude about it, just being a sponge, and getting to work to pick up what it is we do here in Kansas City. And so that's what's impressed me most about him.
We'll go last to Matt McMullen. Go ahead, Matt.
Coach, one of the stories of this season has been how your group has gotten better as the season has gone on and they've gotten to know each other. For you as a coach, with that in mind, how exciting was it to watch the film from last week, particularly that play, the touchdown to Pringle, where Patrick had like 10 seconds to throw?
It's been a lot of fun. And really what makes it most fun is that each guy in there is a great guy. I mean, they're fun to be around. And, taking a group of talented people doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have a great team or a great unit. And so there's a lot of work that has to, get done to have guys gel together. And a lot of that work has to be done by them. And the way they've approached this whole thing with a focus to get better every day, and they enjoy each other. They enjoy football. They enjoy each other. It is a lot of fun to be able to be a part of a group like that, come to work every day and try to coach people that have that kind of attitude. And then in terms of Pringle's play right there, I mean, that was a beautiful thing. We maxed that pro up. So we had a little bit of an assist from Bert and Blake on that thing, but that was a lot of fun. A great play action. It was, that was a good team effort on that thing, and a great job by Pat hanging in there and finding Pringle.
Coach Heck, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us.
Yep, you bet.
All right, guys. We will have Coach Toub coming up next.
You sure you're allowed in here?
Hey, Coach. You ready for it? All right. We'll get started with Matt Derrick. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Coach, a couple of questions. But first off, I wanted to start with Elliott Fry and Johnny Townsend and what those guys gave to you last week.
They were outstanding. I mean, the fact that we had Elliott, I mean, that Brett had the foresight to actually sign Elliott the week before and get him on the practice squad, that really helped. Because when Bucker tested positive, then we were able to immediately start working with Elliott. He was working with Tommy at the time, though, and then Tommy all of a sudden he goes down later in the week, and that was really what threw us the curveball right there, was having him go down so late in the week, and then having to work, getting Johnny in off the street, really with 1 day of practice and getting him working with Elliott. But so those guys really deserve a lot of credit for what they did. Really, the guy that held the whole thing together was James Winchester. I mean, he was out there being able to getting extra reps and doing all the extra things as far as getting them ready for practice and telling them what we're going to do and in and out, all the ins and outs of what we do. And then he was just spot on with his snap, so that wasn't even a question. So James was the hero of the week, and then those two guys came in and they really helped themselves. I think they helped their resume down the road. They got some great experience, great game experience. Everybody, all coaches look for game experience, and they got some really good experience there.
Let's go next to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Coach, I have one follow-up, Brad. I'm saying this in a good way. Harrison Butker is pretty intense. Just how devastated maybe was he to miss the game and get out of his groove in a sense? And
That's a good question. I thought about that. I said, I wonder what Harrison's doing right now. I guarantee he was going nuts. This is so important to him, and you guys know when you talk to him, it's it's his life, and he really for him to miss it, it really definitely hurt him, and I know that. And he was watching probably on the edge of his seat on every kick and every kickoff, and it's just good to have him back, and I'm sure he's happy to be back.
And then the other thing is just this is kind of like a little inside football, I guess, for fans. But how much do you think you might get a call about Fry or the elder Townsend now sometime in the future?
Yeah, I told them both. I said, you guys really helped your resume. I mean, that's really what your resume is your tape. And they went in there and we had eight field goals, literally. I mean, we had the 4 extra points, but they're all field goals. 8 field goals and then the couple punts that we had, and both of them really did a good job in that kind of a tough situation, a windy day. I mean, that wasn't an easy day. that was probably an 8 on a 10 scale. I mean, that wind was gusting, and for both of those guys, that's our, for special teams, that's our nemesis. And then those guys, they handled it great.
Go next to Herbie Teope. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Coach, Happy New Year to you, and I hope
Happy
you're
New
well.
Year. Happy New Year.
As sort of a follow-up to Matt's and Pete's question on Elliott Fry and Johnny Townsend, you touched on your message to them that somehow, you got the good tape and you can keep the dream alive. But how much do you anticipate keeping them on a short list with the playoffs coming up in light of how this COVID situation is developing around the country?
Before they left on their exit interview, I told them, I said, you guys are on our short list. I mean, if something happened to those guys, they would be able to be plugged right in. I mean, in a heartbeat, I would take those guys, both of them back. I mean, it would be, that's a no-brainer for us, because they know our system. They've proven themselves. And that's what I mean. I mean, I think it's going to help them going forward, whether it's here or anywhere else. It's going to help those guys in their future.
And we'll go back to Matt Derrick to close us out. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Coach, I also wanted to ask you about, with the COVID situation the last couple of weeks, you've had to juggle the lineup a little bit. I mean, bringing up guys from the practice squad to be some 4-phase guys. What's it meant, to be able to have some guys that you can count on? Fountain was one of those guys. Zane Anderson's been one of those guys. How's it been just to be able to count on some of those guys you've had to call on?
Well, for me, it's been huge. I mean, those guys, first of all, it starts with, with Veach and his crew. I mean, getting those guys, getting good players, on that practice squad. It was so important, particularly this year, with that, especially what happened to us last week, with the amount of guys that we had down. We really didn't know who we were going to have up. It was all the way up to the end of the week because we had guys coming back as the week went on, and you really couldn't commit to a guy. So you really couldn't practice a guy during the week. You had to practice the guys that you knew were going to be there. So that's what we did. And then all of a sudden, we found out that, Josh Jackson was going to be up. So he ended up playing in the game without any reps during the week. So a lot of credit goes to those guys, him and Boodle. I mean, Boodle jumped in too. He's the same thing. He jumped in and got a bunch of good reps and, did a real good job for us. So a lot has to do with our personnel department, having good players over there that we can tap into. And then credit goes to the player too, for being up on what we're doing as far as in meetings and keeping up with their position and knowing what to do, if they get called upon. So overall, it was good for us to go through it, and we know how to handle it. And, and a lot of credit goes to all the players and the personnel department.
Coach Toub, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, guys.